What's up guys, Matty here, and today I'm going to review another freaking EQ controller. If you've watched my channel long enough, you know I'm a big fan of controllers. I keep freaking buying them and I keep selling them and buying them and selling them and over again. For instance, the SSL UC1, which I just sold, I did a review on. You can check up the review here. It was a great controller, but it could only control one plugin. The other factor was it had a bus compressor and EQ controller, which was great, but I don't use the SSL bus compressor, so there's a big EQ control in the middle of my desk that I never used. And I want to be able to use more than just one plugin if it's going to be a controller this big. The other controller that I still have and use from time to time is the Softube Console 1. That's a great controller. You can control a bunch of different plugins from two different software companies, both UAD and Softube. But the problem is it just doesn't work well flow-wise when you're using Pro Tools like myself. So in comes the Rocksolid Audio EQ controller. This thing looks like a little mini SSL EQ channel strip. And it works with not just one SSL plugin, but every single SSL plugin that's out there. You can use the Waves one, you can use the Brainworks one, you can use the actual SSL one. It doesn't matter, it works for all of them. If that wasn't enough, it also works with a host of other plugins. So for me, this seems to be the ultimate EQ channel controller. So let's get into it. I'll show you how to set it up. I'll show you some of the plugins it works with, and I'll give you some of my thoughts on the pros and cons of working with this EQ controller. Before we do get started, please make sure to like and subscribe if you can. Let's go. All right guys, so as you can probably see from my backwards camera here, this is the Rocksolid audio controller. So if you know anything about an SSL, and I'll pull up the 9000 by Brainworks right here, you have, high shelf or high EQ, high mid frequency, low mid frequency, and then low frequency. Then you have your dynamics and gate section here, and then your filters here, and then there's an input and output. And what I really like about this thing is they actually have a phase button, and they have a couple controller buttons throughout too. Now, if you look at the screen here, you'll see I have the SSL 9000 by Brainworks. And if I just go up to my high EQ and turn the knob, you will see that the knob changes, which is really pretty cool. And I can go to low frequencies and those change. I can go to the filters and those change. I can press the button and the filter actually turns on, which is sick. And it works great. Now you'll notice it takes control of my mouse. So that is actually how this thing works. It is taking control of your mouse. So that's one of the slight downfalls is you just have to get used to it of not touching the mouse while you're trying to reach for the controller. That hasn't been too much of a problem, but sometimes if I grab the knob and move the mouse, things get a little wonky. As you can see, it's kind of going crazy. It took me a little while to get used to that, but now I just make sure I lift my hand up off the mouse, turn this, do whatever I'm doing with this, and then close the EQ or whatnot. What I love about this thing is the fact that, and the UC1 didn't do this at least in Pro Tools, it works with all the other DAWs, but you guys who know Pro Tools, you know how Pro Tools is. I can open up any plugin, and as soon as I open it, it's working with that plugin. So there's no, and I can even do that in the edit mode. So for instance, if I put a plugin here, right? Let me just move the CLA over here. If I plug in there and I click on this section of the edit screen, and I press this button on my mouse, which is a hotkey for it. Whoops, I got my Softube off. If I press this button on my mouse, I can go and click it and turn it on. With the UC1, I would actually have to click this channel in order for it to work. So that's actually really big, and I can close it with my mouse and open it with my mouse. There's two quick keys. I can open and close plugins. And the great thing about this is it doesn't just work with one SSL. This works with the EQ3 by Avid. I can turn it on, do filter sweeps and stuff. I can change any EQ I want, and it works with a host of different plugins, which I'll show you the list in one hot second. So how does it work? Well, it comes with a software called Control Hub, really simple. And you can click on the plugins here and it will load all the different stuff. And so all you have to do in order to make it work is I can actually reset this. Let's do the 9000. So you hit the 9000, I'm gonna hit reset, okay. And if I pull up the 9000 now, you'll notice if I turn the knob, I was actually still working. But all you have to do is go to Control Hub and hit configure, and it says, please hit the center of the high frequency gain knob. You'll open your 9000 and click right here. and then it's done and it's ready to map. Now, obviously it was already mapped. I thought it might work, but it didn't. But that's all you have to do in order to get this to work. And you just go through whatever plugins you have and load them. And so this is what I've done so far, the plugins I've loaded so far. But where do you find the plugins? Well, that's in the preset exchange. And this is a growing list of all the different plugins that this box will work with. And they add some almost every other day to the database, and you can even request ones that you want. I've requested a few. They haven't come through yet, but hopefully they will. But Acoustica, there's quite a few plugins. Diamond 3, L-Ray, which I already have mapped, that works, and I'll show you guys. You know how long Acoustica takes to load, but shouldn't be too bad. I'll open up this L-Ray, and it works with the threshold. So the release turns, and I turn the release. So all kinds of different plugins this thing works with. Attack, all that, threshold, everything works. And then I can close this plugin, open up the next plugin, and it works with this one too. Whoops, this one too. So really quick and easy ability to be able to move around sessions and open just about any plugin and it will work. So back to the list, it has those, it has some for Boz Audio, ton of the Brainworks ones. So you have all the different Brainworks console emulations they've come up with. Even the ones by Lindell Audio, the 50 and the 80, which is like the API and the Neve. Liquid Sonic's got the 7th Heaven reverb. If you're a Logic user, it's got the channel EQ for that. As you guys saw, the Pro Tools one, all the SSL EQs it has, some stuff from Sonux, all the sound toys, which I haven't configured yet to see how they work, but kind of interesting to have sound toys there. And then a bunch from Universal Audio, and of course, a ton from Waves. So really, really useful EQ and can do a lot with a lot of different plugins. So that's a quick overview of how this EQ controller works. It's got to be my favorite one yet. Just the fact that it works with so many different plugins and it's not super big. It's a really small footprint. I think, you know, manufacturers sometimes don't realize we're all working on pretty small desks these days. So real estate is, you know, of key importance. So it's a small box, doesn't take up much room, and all you have to do is plug in a USB cable and it works. So check this out. You can check them out at Rocksolid Audio. They have a bunch of videos too of a little more detail of how the console hub works. If you guys are interested, I think you can remap some of the buttons and knobs if you'd like. Let me know what you guys think about the EQ controller in the comments below. If you need your song mixed or mastered, hit me up at mixandmastermysong.com. You can also find my courses and presets there too. Talk to you soon.